Hi, I'm Gary and welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to show you how I make a letter opener from this PSI kit. I'm going to make this letter opener. It's very simple to make and easy to make. So we'll move on here and I'll show you how to do this. Okay, for doing this letter opener kit, we have this kit that comes from PSI in a Ziploc bag, and this is a PKLO2. And this kit comes with the blade, an end cap, and a brass tube for the body in between the blade and the end cap. So the overall length of this is going to be 6 3/4 inches once it's done, and this one is gold plated. The instructions with this kit you have to download from the PSI website. It's just a one-page of instructions on how to turn it and how to assemble it. You're going to need a 7mm drill bit for the appropriate kind of material that you're going to be drilling. If you're going to be drilling wood, you'd use a brad point drill bit. If you're going to be drilling an acrylic, use an acrylic drill bit, which has a much sharper point on it. It's made specifically for drilling plastics and acrylics. If you try to drill plastics or acrylics with any other kind of drill bit, you're likely to kind of ruin your pieces. It requires bushings, the PKMont BU, which is a 3-piece bushing, but we only use these 2 end pieces. You're going to need a 7mm pen mandrel to go into your lathe for turning these. And then on the end of it, you're going to need what we call a mandrel saver that stabilizes the mandrel, and it's adjustable for length depending on the length of the body that you're working with. Next consideration is to pick out the body that you're going to work with for making the handle out of. I've got this piece of Red Heart that I'm using. That's a piece of scrap I happen to have in my box. That'll be a good fit for this handle. So I'm going to go ahead and use that, plus the color goes good with gold. So my next step typically would be to mark this length of this tube onto the body here, and then go to the bandsaw and cut the body to length. But since this body is already in a pretty good length, I won't need to do that step. So that you can see this step, what I would do is come to the bandsaw here, put my piece in, line my cut line with the saw blade, and with the saw running, I would cut it through to trim this piece off to fit my brass tube. Once you have your body cut to size for your tube, then we're ready to mark the ends here for a center for your drill bit when you get on. I use this centering tool. It's a small little one for like pen blanks. On the back side it's got these detents here as this piece fits into that, and then you can get it into that position. I try to hold this in a consistent position all the time with my fingers for when I go around and mark these. I go around 4 times to mark it because these are never perfectly square. So if I get some space between the lines, I'll find my center between those lines. So as you can see there, it's pretty close, but I'll mark with my scratch awl a center point here that gives me a start point for my drill bit. Here's another nifty little deal for marking center on your workpieces. This is called an octopus, although it's only got 4 legs instead of 8. And you put this on your piece like this and balance these, try and get them balanced straight. And then you just give it a tap with the hammer and it marks center for you. Have the workpiece mounted into the drill press here so I can drill it. Tips lined up with that mark on the end. And I'll drill this through. And it goes slow and easy. Got to stop periodically to cool off the bit. that about 3 minutes to cool. Finish this up. Almost through it. That should be all the way through it. There, we're all the way through it. Next step here is we've got our blank drilled through. What we're going to do is glue this tube into this block. What I use is some medium CA glue. People like to do is they like to take some sandpaper, clean up this brass tube a little bit before they glue it. Gives it kind of a fresh surface. This is about a 220 grit sandpaper that I use. I have this tube insertion tool that I use to help me put it on there as I spread the glue on here. Don't want to get it on my fingers, so I like to have a piece of paper towel handy for cleaning up some of this, as you'll see. I'll spread some glue onto this tube, about 2 strips, and then I get it started into this block. I twist it a little bit to spread the glue around. Twisted, and I push it in to the end to make sure I've got it in there good and flush. We'll let that dry for about 5 minutes. In this step, I'm going to trim the end here so that it's square to the tube. And that's what this barrel trimmer does. That's something you go slow and easy with. This is a carbide cutter, and it's only got 2 blades on it, where some others have 4. You have to go, kind of slow and easy, because if it catches, it could destroy your piece on you too. I keep checking and until I can see the shiny end of the brass tube showing up there. Then I know I'm down there. Okay, now I see it. That's the shiny end of the brass tube. Now I'll do the same thing for the other side. There we are. And we're ready with that one. Next step is to put this on the lathe. Before we mount this on the lathe to shape it, I want to consider, what kind of shape do you want to get? Here's a couple I've done from before. This one just has a fairly gentle shape to it. This one has a handle that has got a notch sort of like at the end here for a different kind of shape. Before you go to the lathe, give it some thought as to what kind of a shape you want to make your handle in. Now at the lathe, I have the 7mm pen mandrel on drive head, and I have the mandrel saver on the tailstock, and this slides in and out to just for the length of your workpiece, and then to secure it. And I'll show, as I have it all assembled here in a moment, how that works. So for putting on the bushings, got one bushing here. These 2 bushings go together. They're both the same diameters. And one bushing here has a slight step to it. Makes it a little bit larger. So that won't match to the size of this diameter, so it has to go on in this way. So I'll put this bushing on first. And then your workpiece is going to go on, and you want to take a look at your workpiece to see what the wood grains or patterns are, if you're using wood or an acrylic, so you can have this in the most interesting way when you get this assembled. Usually I make my business end of my pen, or like in this case the letter opener, the blade's going to be on this end, so I try and position things in that way. So this slides onto there, then the other bushing goes onto the other end. Then the tailpiece comes up, and then I'll lock the tailpiece down, turn the quill here a little bit to give that snug fit. Then I just slightly snug this lock for the quill piece. That keeps the quill piece from rotating. And you don't want to go too tight on this because you can strip out the threads in this cast iron head here, and then you have to wind up buying a new tailpiece. Next, I bring up the tool rest and get that about a finger's width away from my workpiece. And I try and position this so that this is sticking straight out and be kind of perpendicular to my tool rest here. And then I want to raise my tool rest up so that when my lathe chisel is on here, it's going to be about in line with that edge of this workpiece. So I need to bring this up just a little bit. And that's pretty good right there. That'll give me the best results for the turning. Next, I can start doing the turning here. I'll turn this on and turn up the speed to full speed, which is about 4,000 RPM. And then I turn this first to a cylindrical, long cylindrical shape, the whole length here. Then from that point, I can start turning the shape that I want it to be, or that the customer requested. I have this down to a good round shape here. Now I can start shaping it. I'll get these ends down about close to these bushings as I can, because that's where the other pieces that go together match on at. Okay, I've got that down to a pretty good shape that I like, so what I'll do now is to start sanding. I go from a 150 grit down to a 600 grit. I like to periodically stop and check to make sure I've got everything going well here. Okay, down to the final grit, the 600. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Now I'll go over it with a little bit of steel wool. Then I'll rub it down with a cloth to remove any dust. That's a 4-knot steel wool that I use. It's like 4 zeros to it. Rub it with the rag just to remove any loose dust on there. I use this Aussie oil to finish on these kind of projects, and you have to take some time and shake it up well. Shake it for about a minute so that it gets shaken up. And what I do is put a couple of drops on a rag, cotton cloth. Old t-shirts work great. And then what I'll do is rub it in as this is running. I'll slow the speed down and builds up heat for about a minute. And that's what seals in and gives us a hard, glossy coat finish. And then a couple drops here. Slow the down to about 2,000 RPM. Just rub this on and keep doing it for about a minute. I'll start my timer. Keep rubbing back and forth, and this builds up the heat to make it good and hard. It doesn't get real hot, but you can feel the warmth through your finger. Okay, time is up. So that gives it a good glossy coat. Now we'll do this 2 more times. Here we are to assemble this letter opener with the pen press. We have the body completed here, the end cap that will press into this top part of the body, and the blade that will press into the front end of the body. And this part here actually comes off. That's like a union for putting this blade in, and this screws into this. So we can just press this part into the body like that. And this is very simple. We just got these 2 parts to press together, so we'll do that. Put the end cap into the body here and locate it into there. Slide it up to the press here, and so that it's kind of spring load holds it into place for us here. Then we'll press this together, and you gotta watch it sometimes, make sure it doesn't go cockeyed on you. If you do, maybe rotate it a little bit so it goes straight. That went good. Now it's around to the other side and put this front part in for the blade to screw into. I like this round end to go into the softer end here that's kind of concave in there. This has got a flat end to it, so that'll work better against this flat push piece. Okay, so try and keep it straight, press it in. Good. Went in well, so then we just take and screw the blade into the handle, and we have a completed letter opener. Thank you for watching this video. If you got something out of it and you enjoyed it, please give me a like and share it with your family and friends. If you want to see what I may come up with next in the future, please subscribe. Thank you.